Hi everybody, my name is Chloe Hudson with World Peace Projects. Thank you for joining me. So today I wanted to talk about false thought forms. And false thought forms are extremely common, though not the easiest to recognize unless we're aware and searching for them. So what is a false thought form? A false thought form is an implanted or an installed thought that is not actually yours. Now, when we think thoughts or hear them in our mind, we often instantly assume it's our thought. After all, it's inside of our own head. And this is the number one key that allows false thought forms to proliferate unseen. So, for those of you who are aware at this point that energy is real and it's all around us and it's everything in creation, and not all of us can see it, not everybody has their clairvoyant eyes open, though for the most part, most of you who are tuning into this video, I would assume, know that energy is happening. In general, it's an unseen force. So it's affecting you, even though you may not be consciously aware of it. Now the same with your thoughts. We've all come to understand, if we followed manifestation, that thoughts are very important to take command of, because we're very aware of how many ridiculous, ludicrous thoughts we have constantly that we know aren't necessarily our deepest truth. So it's a practice to work to tame the monkey mind, as you might call it. Now, another way to look at this is false thought forms being implanted or imposed into your mind to invoke a lower frequency vibration. So these often slide right in when something is going on that has an opening into your energetic body. So for example, let's use a very general trigger. Traffic. Most people can get highly activated quite instantly in traffic or road rage. Now, this is a general theme. All of us experience traffic at some point in our life if we're driving vehicles, though because it can be such a quick volatile trigger, there may be an energetic terror opening in your energy field that makes it that much easier for false thought forms to slide in and manipulate the way you think. So a false thought form is going to be any thought form that is created to drop your frequency or vibration instantly. And an easier way to recognize false thought forms is if what you're thinking seems a bit absurd. It can easily grab you and you can be taken on a roll with false thought forms and get off into a tangent thinking, oh man, that person's so rude, they cut me off in traffic. I'd like to drive up to them and show them what's for. And you get off onto this tangent and it's like you're on a raft and going down a river and suddenly you're caught on that white water. And then when you get out of it, you're like, whoa, what was that ride? Well, the key is to recognize that the false thought form comes in and it grabs you so quick and takes you that we might not have a lot of consciousness around it, that a false thought form has come in before we're actually grabbed and going down that river. So it's important to start recognizing when it's happening. If you begin to question, why am I thinking this way? I'm not usually this upset. Wow, this isn't like me. I was in such a happy mood 5 minutes ago. Most likely you've been manipulated by a false thought form. Now, give a false thought form some kind of physical form in your process. For example, if somebody comes into your home uninvited, they don't even knock on the door, they just walk right in, most likely we're going to be surprised by that. Some people might be offended, they might be scared, but whatever it is, there's a boundary that's been crossed that's not appropriate in general for most people. So you might address that person, excuse me, I'm not sure why you're here, but you don't belong here. What is it that you want, and why didn't you knock and ask for permission to come in? It's the same with the false thought forms. If you stop to recognize them and even say to them in your own mind, you are a false thought form. You do not belong here. I do not want you. Please leave. your false thought forms will begin to become aware that they are being exposed. And like most negative energy or entities or implants or parasites or false thought forms or what have you, they are opportunists. So when it becomes very challenging for them to do their job, they just rather move on to the next person unsuspecting. So if you begin to address them, they will become aware that you've caught on and they don't want to do the extra work to keep sliding in. Now, they are opportunists, so they may sit and wait and recognize any time you have a trigger. After all, most of us have been playing out false thought forms our entire life. So there are probably a lot of avenues that we have in a way that false thought forms can come in. But begin to be aware and acknowledge them. Now, my experience lately with false thought forms is very intriguing because on certain specific topics in false thought forms, I've noticed late at night when my energy is a little bit lower or heavy, my mind might start reeling and it might get off on a tangent in a negative way of things that if I stop to really process what I'm thinking about, it's not realistic. It's like future projections, it's things that are instigating a separation energy. Maybe I'm angry at somebody or I'm doing a blame, nitpicking or nagging or whatnot. And at some point, usually if, let's say it's something that's very upsetting to me, when I go to wake up in the morning, even if my mind's been reeling and reeling all night and I haven't really slept and I've been awake, but when I actually go to get up and start my day, it's like a spell has been lifted and it's been broken. And suddenly my mind clears instantly. And it is such an amazing thing to see how this blanket of false thought forms has come in and anchored kind of, and my frequency sustained that lower vibration, so it allowed them to stay put. But once the day begins and the light comes out and the energy gets higher, they can't really hang out. It's lifted. And it's been a very intriguing process because it has proved to me undoubtedly that these are false thought forms that have come in, and I've been thinking these types of things most of my life, so they have easy access. I've definitely ingrained that road, that dirt road, that rut for them to journey in, so they have an easy avenue. But now that they're being recognized, the dream state of the false thought forms are breaking that much quicker. So it's very important for us to recognize false thought forms because we all get them from time to time. And we often act on our thoughts, which can be a little bit dangerous, or at least it can be troublesome, because most of us have had the experience where we act on a thought. Maybe we've made an assumption, or maybe we've just taken a perspective that's all around negative and has created some kind of victim-aggressor situation or separation situation. We go to blame, we get angry, we get emotional, we express our fear. And then once the whole situation is played out, we may go back and look in hindsight and say, if I had taken time and not reacted on that thought and maybe processed it or observed a bit more, I would see that I was out of line, or that was actually inaccurate, or I didn't need to react. I could actually slow down and ask a question to clarify what I'm thinking. Is this true or not? So notice that the thought form that comes in also will push you to instigate some form of a reaction, because when you react, you ground that lower vibration that much more into your cellular memory. So you're that much more likely to do it again and repeat and repeat. Now, most people who have been on a path of meditation or higher awareness have heard of the term monkey mind or coyote mind, or however you want to call it. And we practice coming out of our mind and into our heart. So this practice can also bypass false thought forms, because if one becomes more adept at moving into their being and allowing the monkey mind to reel and flow, but we don't give it that much attention. That's another way of saying, maybe without consciously knowing, that these are false thought forms that we don't need to put any of our energy into. Though it works quite well to speak directly to them in your own mind. Let them know you know that these are false thought forms and you're no longer interested or willing to navigate through them. And see the shift. They will begin to shift because you have command over your energy if you take responsibility for it. But there are a lot of energies that are given default control simply because we are ignorant or not aware that they're actually coming in and controlling and commanding, hence false thought forms. We have given them permission by default to come in and manipulate the way we think and process and then often react, simply because we're not taking enough responsibility to be so aware of our energy that we can see or experience or hear or know what's happening so that we can act upon it accordingly. And that action is to tell it to stop. It's not a reaction into the thought form itself. Now, another note on this, you may have heard me speak about the Well of Dreams chakra coming online. This is a relatively newer chakra that sits at the base of your occiput, at the base of your skull. Once you hit a certain sub-level in your ascension, you can request that the installation be put in, and this chakra assists your higher heart to come on more thoroughly and allow your lower mind to come offline, and it teaches your higher mind to be a servant of your heart. Because your heart is made to be the most driving intelligence that moves forward, not your mind. So our mind has been acting for a very long time like a dog without an alpha. It will go forward and act like it knows what it's doing, but it's not the best role for it to be in charge because it is apathetic. Your mind does not have the ability to be fully empathetic and aware of what it means to feel things. It can only analyze and process, and so it correlates certain actions, reactions, situations to your emotions, but it does it in a way that it doesn't actually have the capacity to empath or fully know what it means to feel these emotions. So it often makes incorrect assumptions. That's why it's important to let your heart be the navigating force, because your heart has the ability to also rationalize logically, though it navigates primarily through your emotional intelligence and your energetic awareness. And then it sends relays and commands to your mind to follow suit. Your heart is an ultimate observer, so it takes the necessary time and sees more than what is visible to the eyes, and that's what's different in one way of the mind leading and the heart. The Well of Dreams, when it comes online, the way I clairvoyantly see it is there's an energetic cable, it looks like a coaxial cable that comes out the base of your occiput and inserts into the back of your higher heart in between your shoulder blades on your spine. That cable relays, it synchronizes your Well of Dreams to your higher heart, and it begins to communicate back and forth. It begins a transmission so your Well of Dreams chakra can begin to speak to your mind and assist the lower mind to come offline and submit to the higher heart. When this happens, for those of us that are in our heart often and comfortable in that space, there may be a very slight shift in the lower mind coming offline, and often I experience it as kind of like a daze, like there's a reboot and you're kind of like, oh, what was that? Something happened. Oh, that's fine. For those of us that are more logical and not necessarily geared to allow and feel comfortable for our heart to navigate, when the lower mind comes offline, it can seem very scary because we can't really process mentally for however long it takes your mind to reset and reboot. This can feel overwhelming, though ultimately it will reboot and come back online, and it may do it several times until your mind is comfortable and feels safe enough to surrender to the heart. And this is not meant to be a fighting process. Your Well of Dreams is here to support and encourage your mind and show your mind that it's safe and it's more efficient and enjoyable for your mind to be a servant of the heart. So it will be a very gentle process. It does not need to be an ego battle. Your mind may fight and resist, but your Well of Dreams chakra will not push or force your mind. It will be gentle and allow it to do it in its way. Same with the heart. It doesn't want to push, it doesn't want to force. It loves your mind, and it knows how greater of a capacity that your mind has to express itself if it is to take its servant role through the heart, because the heart can show it how to access more of its ability. And the mind would love to expand its capabilities. So once it allows itself to witness that it actually has more access to its mental capacities by serving the heart than being in control of the entire system, it will surrender. I hope you enjoy this video. You can find more like them on my YouTube channel, and please subscribe. I offer healings and channelings. I would love to hear from you. My website is worldpeaceprojects.global. Have a great day. Bye-bye.